everyone, welcome back. I'm Nikki Buckaloo, co-founder and CEO of the Seniors Real Estate Institute. And I have a question that was posed that I want to answer today. The question was, how will the age wave impact real estate agents? Well, so first of all, let's define what is the age wave. You may have also heard it called the silver tsunami or the senior tsunami. I don't know how water all of a sudden became equated with the rise in population of our older adults, but it has. So the age wave is basically the demographic shift in our country where we actually have a significant number of people turning 65 in a short period of time. So if you think about it, the statistics are that the baby boomers were born between 1946 and 1964. And so the first of the baby boomers started turning 65 back in 2011 to the tune of about 10,000 people per day. And that will continue on through almost 2030. So if you think about it, the oldest of the baby boomers, the earliest of the baby boomers started turning 65 back in 2011, and then the latest of the baby boomers will turn 65 around 2030. So we're going to have a significant portion of the population that are 65 and older as compared to the younger age groups. So that's what the age wave, or the silver tsunami, if you will, is all about. So how will that affect real estate? Well, that's a great question. That is largely unknown, just like it's unknown how it will affect society at large. But think about back in 2008, 2009, when the housing market crashed. And we went from having this amazing high volume market where we had appreciation, and then all of a sudden we had excess inventory and no buyers. And we had excessive number of foreclosures and short sales. Matter of fact, a lot of real estate agents got out of the business. Those who stayed in the business had to learn how to sell short sales and how to manage foreclosures. And the ones who did got really good at it, did large amounts of volume, did a really great job. And some people just kind of stayed mainstream and did a small amount of business during that time, or enough to stay afloat. And others, like I said, got out of the business entirely. So could the age wave look a lot like the housing shift back in 2008? Well, no, not really, because this is going to happen gradually over time. It's not going to happen suddenly over a period of months. And so what we're going to see is we're going to see a shift in the housing market and the centered nature of it being on the mature homeowner. So let me just run some statistics by you here. According to the National Association of Realtors, in the last 3 or 4 years now, it's trending, 1 in 4 home sellers has been a senior. So studies differ, so some say 55 or older, some say 65 or older, but let's just say senior for the sake of argument. If 1 in 4 or 25% of the home sellers in the last 4 years or so have been age, say 55 or older, just think what's going to happen as the demographics continue to show an aging trend. It's not going to get less, right? It's going to get more of our home sellers are going to be mature home sellers. Now, what does that mean to us as real estate agents? Well, one thing is we know that people are living longer, they're aging in their own home for a longer period of time. And that's definitely going to impact our housing market, right? The supply and demand. But that will work itself out. That will be handled by purely economics, right? And the function of how our economy works. But how will it affect us as real estate agents? Well, we've got to learn how to better serve that aging demographic. It's kind of funny, actually. I was thinking about this as I was talking with a friend the other day. They were telling me that they had to go through some trainings in their workplace where they worked before on how to better work with millennials. As millennials were entering the workforce, it was recognized that they saw things differently, and so we all need to learn to adapt to that. Well, gosh, I think the table's getting ready to turn slightly, because a lot of those millennials are in real estate and they've done quite well. But now we're going to be dealing with this aging demographic, and are aging homeowners going to go take a class on how to better work with millennials, or are millennials going to need to go take a class on how to serve the aging demographic that they're seeking? So I think it will be interesting to see. You know, I can just project right now. Matter of fact, I don't even have to project. I can tell you a story about a friend of mine. So Chris and I went to breakfast one day, about 2003 or 2004, with a gentleman named Paul Woolsey. And Paul is a smart guy. He's heavily invested. He has supported small businesses for a long time, had his own businesses, has done quite well for himself. I consider him a very intelligent person. And we went to him and asked him for some advice back in the early 2000s as it related to our senior specialty business, both our move management and our real estate team. And I think somewhere in the background, we kind of hoped he would say, hey, I love this idea, can I invest in it? Well, he didn't. He said, you know what, kids? And he called us kids. He probably still calls us kids. But he said, you know what, kids? He said, you've got a great idea here. You've got a great business concept. He said, but sometimes great businesses need to be put on a shelf, and then they need to sit there on that shelf and mature for a while, and then they can be pulled back down off the shelf when the timing is right. And boy, I sure didn't want to hear that when Paul shared it with us that day, but he was right. And even though we didn't really put it on a shelf, we continued to practice and we continued to specialize. He was right about the timing, because right now there is enough business for lots of agents to be specializing, and there aren't nearly enough of us actually. And so just think, between now and 2044, when the increase in the numbers of seniors is exponential, how many real estate agents are going to be needed that understand their needs and their goals and their circumstances. So I hope that helps. It didn't answer the question specifically, but hopefully I gave you something to think about. And obviously I'd love to have more conversations around this topic, so feel free to post in the comments, pose any additional specific questions, and we'll get back to you in another video. Thanks so much for joining us.